Hi, welcome back to From Kentucky to Tokyo, where every Wednesday is a news day. In the weather report, it is freaking hot. It does not need to be this hot. It is ridiculous. It's not even summer yet. So everything's melting. Like, it's so hot and terrible. And everyone's already like, mushiatsune, and I'm like, no, it's too early for this. Very soon it's going to be typhoon season, because that's what June and July are. Just days upon days of rain. Be prepared. Hi, once again, this is the news roundup, Japan news roundup, I should say. Not all news, but anyway. So first off, let's go to COVID-19 stats, because that's the thing apparently people really want to hear. I don't know why. Alright, so 15,788 confirmed cases, up by 51. Recovered cases, 8,733. So 55% of total cases. Good to know. Oh, sorry. Yeah, confirmed equals total. Deaths, 659. That's up by 6 from the other day. And 4% of total cases, which is kind of interesting. So it's up from the 3% that it was last week. Good to know. Active cases, 6,396. Plus up from 45. 3% are in critical condition, which goes by the usual coronavirus statistics as said last week. And fully tested people, 218,204 people. Yes, that's it. Whenever I tell the Americans and like other people across the globe that that's the number we currently have, people are kind of shocked. They're a little shocked that that's it. But like as said in many previous videos, the reason for this is they're not testing for people unless they've had a fever for at least 4 days, if not up to a week, before they can go to a hospital where they can get COVID-19 testing. Even still, COVID-19 testing is only at certain hospitals, and they're keeping a lot of these hospitals secret so people don't overflow these testing sites. And yeah, the way that it's been quote-unquote contained in Japan is a lot of underreported cases and a lot of people who are told to not go and get tested, and we're going to talk more about that later in the video. For now, let's go into Shinzo Abe strikes again and his wonderful responses. Today it was put on Japan Today, oddly enough, that the Japanese government is considering opening up 36 of the 47 prefectures that have currently been quote-unquote closed, but not really closed, because we've never had a hard lockdown. It's always been a soft lockdown, because Shinzo Abe keeps protesting the idea of, oh yes, we can't do this because it's against the Constitution, even though he totally ratified 2 different laws in March so that he could absolutely stop transportation, and he could put down a hard lockdown, but he didn't want to do that, so he didn't. There's your summary in total. But yeah, so on Thursday, so this upcoming Thursday, they're thinking about opening up these prefectures again. So they're making the announcement on Thursday that they might do that. And the reason for this being because the daily totals of most things are in the double digits now. And so they're like, oh, well, now it's fine. We can open things back up again. And for me, this is me going, remember how in February we did the same thing? I'm pretty sure we did the exact same thing. Like, we shut down the schools and people were like pretty cautious for a good 2 weeks. And then they weren't cautious at all during like the Hanami season. And then we had, guess what, a second wave, and now it seems as if we might be doing that again. Tokyo only had 15 cases reported on Monday, but it turns out, as found out on the OG YouTube news guy, Hiko Saemon, he actually just put up this Twitter tweet not too long ago that said, Koike, the governor of Tokyo, apparently, up until now, after overall cases, the health bureaus failed to report a total of 111 cases. So that's confusing. I thought it was 15 on Monday, but what about these 111 cases? Are they just like snuck into the data? Where did they come from? Where'd they go? I hope the song is in your head like it's in mine. Haha. It's a mess. Remember how I talked about last week? There was a Time, I can't find it now, but there was a Time article that talked about how the people of Japan were very confused about how serious COVID-19 was because the government is doing such confusing messages to the general populace of Japan about how serious COVID-19 is. That is this. That is all of this. So it's very serious. We should take it seriously. We should lock things down. Oh, we're going to open things back up on Thursday. Oh, the cases are fine. They're under control. We have all the data. We didn't report 111 of them. Totally by accident. Trust in the government is at an all-time low right now. And oh man, I do not blame anybody here in this country for being very, very skeptical about these numbers. And I don't blame anybody for being very skeptical about the fact that most of the people Abe Shinzo seems to listen to are people who are all his economic advisors, people who are talking about the money for the government and how we can't just keep things closed. We have to reopen. Sound familiar? There's a lot going on there. On top of all this, another reason that the Japanese government right now is going into like a huge, like, everybody is like, what the hell's going on, is because Shinzo Abe is right now trying to pass a law to change the public prosecutor's office law in Japan, because I don't know if anybody knows about this, because this is like old news / it kind of fell under the radar of like international news, but Shinzo Abe had a cherry blossom party, and it turned out that like a lot of people were very pissed off about that because it was basically him just flouting like using taxpayers' money to have a party. So if you want to look it up in Japanese, actually I'll put a link in the description. There's unseenjapan.com actually did a pretty really well detailed in English an article about it. But yeah, it was called Sakura o Mirukai. So, Sakura viewing party. And do you want a direct translation there? But yeah, the Sakura viewing party was like a misuse of taxpayer funds. And Shinzo Abe, of course, does not like to be criticized for things like that. So apparently he's trying to change the law of the public prosecutor's office. So people are right now, even Karyu Pamyu has spoken up about it and is saying like, this is some bullshit, trying to take down the public prosecutor so that he can do things and not get in trouble for them. Does it sound bad? It is bad. Good job. The public sorry, I'm reading as I'm trying to talk, and that's not a good thing. The Public Prosecutor's Office is regulated by the following 3 laws: National Government Organization Act, the Act for Establishment of the Ministry of Justice, and the Public Prosecutor's Office Law. So the government is specifically trying to change the prosecutor part. Why? So the public prosecutor is an extraordinary organ of the Ministry of Justice. Its role is to supervise the justice system, making sure there is no abuse of power while ensuring the legitimate use of law. The Public Prosecutor's Office has 4 tiers: the Supreme Public Prosecutor's Office, High Public Prosecutor's Offices, the District Public Prosecutor's Offices, and the Local Public Prosecutor's Offices. So on to the high tiers. The law that the ruling parties are forcing the change is Article 22 of the Public Prosecutor's Office Law, stating that public prosecutors must retire when they are 63. There are concerns because the Abe government is being suspected of multiple controversies and corruption, while the superintending prosecutor, leader of the Tokyo High Public Prosecutor's Office, seems to have just turned 63 this year. How interesting about that? Coincidence? I think not. A threat to democracy. The prosecutor's role in this society is to secure the legitimate use of the law, and supposedly is an independent entity where each and every prosecutor, there is a national exam to become one, has the own authority to investigate. So you have this going on. Oh, sorry. Shout out to Kazuna Yamamoto for making this easy English guide for me and other idiots who can't read in Japanese very well. I knew that something was going on because I saw the hashtag for it, but I didn't understand what was going on. So there you go. But yeah, a lot of people are now talking about it, and I'm talking about how changing this law, trying to do this right now. Interesting that you would get rid of the guy who's been trying to make you be beholden unto the taxpayers that you're screwing over. Cool beans. Okay, last week we talked about how you would have a long wait time for an ambulance ride, or possibly like a long wait to find a hospital that would take you. Well, it turns out a man has died from coronavirus in Japan after being told to wait his turn to be hospitalized. It's really sad. It's a man in his 80s from Saitama Prefecture of Tokyo, died. He was told to wait his turn to be hospitalized, as some 200 patients were on the waiting list in the prefecture at that time. So it was in mid-April, which then makes me wonder, okay, if that was in mid-April and we're at the beginning of May, yeah, so during Golden Week times, there might have been more people than who possibly had the same thing happen to them, but we just don't know about it because, again, it feels as if they're just, oh, oops, we lost data about this. The family asked that he be admitted to the hospital at an earlier date. The man had to wait at home where his condition took a sudden turn for the worse. They are criticizing the prefectural government's response, with one family member saying his condition was so severe that he couldn't even talk. He was practically neglected. I can't imagine how that would feel to try and bring your grandfather to the emergency room begging somebody to take care of him, and he has to wait after 200 plus people in order to be seen. That is absolutely tragic. This is the worst case scenario that we kind of thought might happen here in Japan, because once again, 5 ICU beds per 100,000 people. So sorry, that was from the Mainichi. Now another Mainichi article, trial and error battle for doctor on front lines treating coronavirus patients in Japan. So a lot of the things with the doctors, they're kind of struggling against a lot of different issues. So the beds just aren't available. And then on top of that, it's an unknown virus. It's just reacting to people's bodies differently. Some people get it and their lungs just don't work. And then some people get it and they get strokes. People who are young will suddenly look like they're about to be fine, and then they just suddenly get a stroke and die. So there's a lot of, like this Mainichi article says, the novel coronavirus is an unknown virus. When approaching commonly encountered clinical conditions, we don't waver over what to do. It's like a spinal reflex. But among the COVID-19 patients with severe symptoms, some suffer multiple organ failure and get much worse even when they are hooked up to an artificial respirator. So for some reason, people will just start dying. We don't know the effects of the virus on the body. So everyone is trying their best to figure out how to fight this thing, but it's gonna be, like they said here in this Mainichi article, a prolonged battle, and they're just gonna have to try different things to try and see how best to help people. But it's not a virus you want to catch. It's not easily fightable. It's still very easily multiple organ failure. Your heart just doesn't, it attacks the heart. It can make your immune system fight against itself. So it is not a good time. In good news. So I want to end this with some good news. I actually did a recent video where I talked about some LGBTQ groups in Japan that needed some help. And one of them met its goals. Help Us Sue the Japanese Government Gender and Marriage Equality, organized by Ellen McCready, met its goal. So wonderful. They are going to go forth with trying to fight the Japanese government for same-sex marriage, and also the recognition of Ellen as a trans individual who is a woman who is married to Midori, her wife. So all of that hopefully will be done in the upcoming battle, but that's some good news. So we have that as a note to end on. So this one's gonna be a little bit less hard to edit. But yeah, comment down below, what do you think about everything with the Japanese government and the numbers? And yeah, I should say also, this is like my own opinion that I'm interspersing in with these news stories. I definitely don't have any trust in what's going on, but hopefully if I do what I'm supposed to do, stay inside, and also like help flatten the curve, in the end we can go back to things as normal in maybe a month or two, but definitely not by Thursday. Anyway, so yes, I'll talk to you all in the next video, next Wednesday. Yes, stay healthy, wash your hands, take care, take your vitamins, love you.